Welcome to another episode of Box Press. I'm your host, Rob Gagner, and I am sitting next to
the other host, Nate Beck.
Awesome. Welcome again to a great Friday. If you got comments, leave them in the comment chat, post them up. We want to see who's out there. If you have any questions that you want to ask our guest, go ahead and post them there. All right. So if you notice the title of this, it's Cartas De Amor is the name of the brand. And it actually means love letters in Spanish. And actually, he wrote us a letter with the cigars that he sent us, which was really cool. There's these like wax stamps.
Got
and
one here too on the
we got, they're just, it's really nice. Great cardstock. The letters.
Just beautiful.
So very nice. We have Ross
signed
Moran, who is the creator of this, and we are going to get into it because we have a lot of questions, and we're smoking the very first Cartas De Amor called El Baile, which means basically the tango or the dance in Spanish. Ross, thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, you are down in Texas.
Correct.
It's a little chillier than you care to be, so we'll try to get this wrapped up and back into your home so you can enjoy the warmth.
Yeah. I'm in no hurry. I got all this cigar here.
Well, first and foremost, I mean, the packaging is phenomenal, and I love the stamp, this wax stamp.
Yep.
And it's also on the letter.
Yep.
Are these wax stamps? Are you hand making these, or are these all pre-made and then you just stick them on?
Yeah, at this quantity, I'm making them. They can be bought and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
I've seen it. Yeah, it's I love the hand done touch.
Well, and for a person who enjoys attention to detail, I'm super impressed that you got such consistent margins on your wax seals, because you'll watch a movie where they still signed letters or sealed them with the wax seal, and there's just a pound of wax on there, and it's squished down in there.
It's not a perfect circle.
No, these are fantastic.
But if you flip this on the side, he signed the side of it, and he numbered it. So the number, what is that one? 49 out of 150.
Yep.
So 150 of these wax seals.
Yep.
So he's how long did it take you to get good at these?
So a lot of the things that, since this is the start of the whole project, the early beginnings of it, it takes a lot of time. I don't spend as much time doing it. I spend a whole bunch of time learning how I'm going to make that process an assembly line. So it may take me so much time to set it up, and then I can just get them all done. So the project, this whole cigar, everything involved with this cigar may have taken me so long, but I've set it up so everything I can do in the future is so much easier for me to be creative because I've got the process set up.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah, it's one of those, you get the efficiencies worked out at the beginning before you start, and then once you actually package it, you know exactly what you're doing. That's awesome.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll get to a quantity where I'm not doing it myself, where I have to be buying it or outsourcing the labor. But it is cool to do it myself at this time, and I can get creative with it. I can see weird ways of doing it, because I'm glad you mentioned the precision. We would get along very well because I am such a precise guy. But I saw a lot of wax stamps when I was doing research and what I want the packaging to look like. A lot of stamps, old school stuff, like you said, that's just a big glob of wax, and it's and it's not centered, and you can tell it's handmade.
Yep.
So plenty of people use that huge selling point as a crutch. It's it's imperfect, but you can tell it's handmade in a leather good or something. So it's do I want to purposefully make it imperfect to really drive home that it's hand done, or do I just want to hand do it myself and actually make it look perfect?
Yeah,
it's actually easier to make it look perfect every time than it is to make it organically. It's pretty difficult to make something look organic.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the title, obviously, of the brand is Cartas De Amor, which means love letters. But in your About Me page, you say that these are love letters to your wife, but does your wife smoke cigars then? These
Yeah.
cigars? Okay.
Yeah, so she'll smoke with me. It's not an everyday thing. She smokes some cigars on her own every once in a while. So I wrote all that up, saying my wife. We're getting married on Tuesday.
Oh, congrats!
Yeah.
Holy cow!
Holy smokes!
Thank you.
Congratulations!
I did not know
I
that.
appreciate that. Yeah, I just wrote it up because it's like by the time anyone reads it, we'll be married.
Yeah.
But
I love
yeah.
it.
So
But
it was
by the time anyone reads it, the brand's been out for a while. Haven't it? Like, I mean, when did you launch?
I mean, it was in the end of last year in the fourth quarter.
That's so interesting because, go ahead. Did you have a question?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
For a new cigar brand to have access to like premium high-end tobacco, is that common, or does it take time to build a relationship to get access to premium tobacco? I mean, you have access to premium tobacco, but let's face it, like the blender always has stuff that's aged longer and it costs more. So you're either subject to like your pocketbook and how deep and how much you want to spend, or you're subject to you don't even have access to it because they don't want to give it to you because you're so small. So what is it like working with Kelner Boutique Cigar Factory in that regard?
Yeah, there's a little bit of both sides of what you're saying, where sometimes you can't get it. But before we started this, we talked a little bit about how we're smoking the tobaccos with an open mind about it. We're not just because something is super old doesn't mean I have to have it. There's some. I'm just in there with Kelner working on making a great blend and trying to create what I had envisioned for Cartas De Amor. And sometimes it doesn't have to be an expensive tobacco or rare tobacco. But if we end up making exactly what I wanted, this is just, perfect. Sometimes it just costs a little bit more to do that. So we prioritize the end result. But you also mentioned that Kelner has all good tobacco. He's been accruing a tobacco collection for a long time, even before he started KBF. So everything he's got is old and good.
I think that's a great lead in to what we were talking about before we came on air. Matt, if you can put up that bottom question there. This is from Gimpy91. What's the blend on the cigars? And Ross, I'm going to let you answer this because I really liked your answer as to why the blend on these cigars isn't on the website for Cartas De Amor.
Well, so you guys smoked it and you really liked the cigar, but I guess I can kind of answer your question with a question is what did you think it was? Like what you guys had smoked it and had all this time to say, man, I think it was this and that. Like, what ideas did y'all have in mind?
Zero, because I suck at this. So I have no idea.
And I will be frank.
I just like it.
Rob and I smoked your cigar on a winter camping trip when it was below zero. So it was probably, it got down to 15 below and we camped in hammocks. And this was one of the cigars we smoked. And I think.
But we were in the car when we smoked it.
We were on the way up. And I think we were enjoying conversation and we were smoking the cigar. And I wasn't paying so much attention. I was just enjoying the experience. So I was just trying to enjoy the stick. I didn't actually put too much thought into what was in the cigar. And I often will do that, but I'm trying to also balance that out with taking a cigar and saying, do I enjoy this or do I not enjoy this? And not kind of drill down so heavily on what's in the cigar and say, was this a pleasant experience? Was this something I'd want to have again? And I would say absolutely yes.
Yeah. So there's like pros and cons to knowing about it too. Like
that question.
Camacho. All their stuff says Criollo, like whatever it is, whatever. And I think they prioritize the wrapper on what the cigar is, and it's not just Camacho. Pretty much everyone has what the cigar is on there. And yeah, so maybe some people will pick up that cigar. They know that they like whatever. They're a Connecticut guy, whatever they are, and they feel like they've smoked all the Connecticut. So they see this Connecticut they haven't tried, and they're going to pick it up because it is what they like. You know, you might catch some more people with that net, but I mean, there's a lot of people like yourselves that really like. I think if you try it and truly enjoy the thing for what the experience you had instead of what it said on the box, that's
you're
a little
going
bit
against
more
the
of
grain,
it.
though.
Yeah. Well, and you shared a really good analogy. You know, you're describing to a customer when you used to work in a cigar shop, and you're really talking up this cigar, and you have, you know, this rapport going, and the customer says, "Oh, but it's Nicaraguan. I only smoke Dominican," or vice versa, or "I only smoke Connecticut's." And now they're not going to get that cigar because their mind is so locked into this is the only track that I can go down. And that can be frustrating because you lose out on some really cool experiences or some really unique flavors.
It's a small portion of people that would legitimately reject something based on that, but it still happens, and it's jarring. Like when we've had a full conversation about it, but that one thing just set them off. And I get, like, you know, $10 for a cigar it's their money, and it's a lot of money. A little bit, like, everyone's different, so spend their money where they want, but also, like, there's some people that have ended up smoking something, whether it was given by a friend or whatever, and they truly enjoyed that cigar. Like, you know, the people that go to whatever cruise destination, they had some guy give them a Cuban cigar on the beach. They have no idea what it is, but they love it. It is the best thing that they've ever had, and that because they just, like, actually smoked it. They don't know what it is. They just know it's Cuban or this or that, and they fall in love with it.
Really,
and it's not
Cuban?
cute. No, it's
You got it on the
1,000%
beach?
it's not.
I've bought them off the beach, and I definitely didn't get Cubans.
It's experience and its place and it's the cigar all rolled into one. It's all rolled into a bigger package that makes the sum greater than the parts.
Yeah, for sure. But I think, Ross, I mean, you're going to the point of, like, I just want people to try this cigar. I don't want them to focus on what it is. So are we going to find out what this blend is? Are we going to find out what the wrapper is? Or is it that just tied up in just try it and don't think about it?
We'll see how it goes, because I can always disclose it later. But once you put it out there, you can't undo it once people know what's in the head. So I'm not worried about people. It's not like I have any bad tobacco that I'm trying to hide, or any, like, it's not anything short fill or anything like that. But like I said, I just want people to really enjoy it, and I'll see how it goes. If people think I'm never going to smoke something from a guy that's hiding stuff, then I might go, all right, fine, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
But if people start to really enjoy the experience of someone creating a brand of cigars that are all good, no matter what it is, where it's from, they are like an organic follower of what the product is.
That's great. I mean, it's different. Like I said, you're going to go against the grain because you might turn people off because they don't know what they're investing in. But ultimately, I'm excited to see what ends up happening, how that progresses with more customer exposure. So people out there now are getting exposed to this through this video, and hopefully they can go out and try it and decide for themselves. Trevor Bain had a great question about, just up a few, Matt. I think.
Yep.
That one, yeah.
Yep.
So Trevor said, when was the last time you wrote a love letter, and what did it say? I don't know if you want to disclose what it said, because it's usually very personal. But
right?
Do you and your soon-to-be wife write love letters to each other, Ross?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not a recurring thing, but I wrote a really nice one on Valentine's Day of last year, I remember. And I remember about the card, too. I still have the thing, like, right inside there, that it's pretty much a black envelope like the one you've got, but really beautiful envelope and everything. Our wedding invitations were like this. So I put a lot of time into creating the look of it to make it sincere. And I remember also I had bought the card like a year before that. We were in a record shop and saw this really cool card that was in Spanish, and it said, more and whatever stuff. It was a beautiful little like cartoon card. And I bought it, and I said, I'm going to wait for the right time to do this. And like, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I just wanted to wait till something would come about. And okay, Valentine's Day is here. And then, now I've got this idea for these great envelopes, and they're like handmade cotton paper that I was buying. And they were the envelopes with little dried lavender and the wax seal and stuff. So the letter itself is great, right? But like, and this is what I try to do with Cartas De Amor. And I think why the packaging works so well also is because when you put that extra touch into the letter, it makes it feel so sincere. And
Absolutely.
That's just what I've learned from doing it with an actual love letter, is that if you make it look sincere, people believe you when you tell them it really is sincere.
That's interesting.
That's super cool.
Recently wrote a love letter to my wife while I was in Miami. I went into a store. I had to get some ink for my pen, and they had basically free postcards that you could write a message out, address it, and it was pre-stamped or, whatever, and they'd send them out. So I just wrote my wife a quick little love letter on a postcard, which was a lot of fun. And I hadn't done it in a long time, but I was like, what a cool opportunity, like for a store to provide pretty much what is cardstock and postage, not a ton of money for less than $1. I got customer value out of it, I had fun doing it.
And I did a similar thing, not for my wife. So Ross, I have 5 daughters, and my oldest is 22, and took a Post-it note and said, I love you. I hope you're having a great day. Miss you already, because they were home for Christmas. And so I was like, I hope she finds this when she's back home in California from Minnesota. And almost 2 weeks later, she hadn't, and I put it inside her wallet and closed the wallet up. And about 2 weeks later, she sends me this text with a picture of the Post-it note, and it took her that long to see the Post-it. So it made it even more special for her, because then it was a real surprise. And something just small like that, it just kind of the intention of, you put a little care to either disguise it or to package it in a really unique way, to have something that has a real touch and feel to it. Those all add to the significance of a love letter or a memento, if you will.
Yeah, I'm glad. My fiance has done that to me like 3 or 4 times. I found something in my wallet days later or something like that, and I was like, that's awesome. I've had one that ended up going like a year before she found it, and it felt so great when she goes, what is this? And I turn and I can see the jacket pocket or whatever it was I put it in that I knew she wouldn't pick up for a year.
Yep.
It's like, we're in Texas, we don't pick up that jacket for a year.
That's
and
right.
She picks up the jacket. She's like, what is this thing? And I was like, oh, this is going to be great. I'm wait. I know what's in there.
Yes.
There's a good comment from Julie Ross. You should include a stamped postcard in the packaging, and people can write back to you.
That's been a good idea for a long time. I've had.
Really? You've had that idea?
I love it.
Yeah, because I'm wanting to generate a customer involvement. I want someone to feel like if they spent money on this cigar, we're going past the purchase, that we genuinely want to hear from the people that smoke these cigars, because I want to give them experience that they, they're taking a risk, because I'm not telling them to blend, and I hope they enjoy it. And I sincerely want them to enjoy it and tell me if they don't or tell me if they do. So like, I want it to go beyond the transaction.
Well, there's the way. Make it happen.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do, but we're working on it. We're just trying to figure out the execution of it.
Sure.
Awesome.
That, and then maybe some Cigars for Warriors stuff we're working on with postcards. So there's this. I like the name because of the sincerity of my brand, but because of the longevity of just the multiple ways that we can just utilize the brand and the name to make it better for everyone involved.
Right. Well, I mean, obviously this is this is your first cigar out in the market. You have experience. You're obviously leaning on Kelner for blending, but no matter what, because you know, and I know, and Nate knows, we're cigar enthusiasts. If somebody is coming out with a boutique cigar, and I guess that term has been used quite a bit, but the real question I have is like, should consumers seek to purchase a brand's first edition, or should they do later runs? Because we've heard it all. Like I've heard, oh, the first edition was the best and it's changed.
Yeah.
Or is it more of a quality thing where it's like, I don't get the first one because the quality may not be as good until they get some more money and get better quality. So what do you think, Ross? What would you do if you were a consumer? Would you try to seek out the first edition of every new release?
Well, I am a consumer, and I have always been a consumer in like the cigars, the industry, working at that shop for so long. And like I said, I'd seen it all, but more often we see someone saying that the first edition was better, and they never get, the public never gets over that. They always think, I remember when this smoke was really good back when they released it, and it's just not the same. I can only think of like one or two smokes for me that really changed, that I really enjoyed that smoke from another brand, and it's kind of not the same for whatever reason. Maybe they just changed the tobacco or something, but I mean, it's just really rare that I've seen the quality go down really, and then what's the opposite of that? Like the quality go up. I've never seen someone really hold off and really reap the benefits of not buying a smoke. Like I can't think of any other factory or brand that has bad stuff at the beginning and then makes it better later. I mean, there's some cigars I don't like out there, but I don't see them just totally flipping the tables and just becoming the best thing I've ever had either. But I'm working with Kelner, who's like I say, he's been accruing tobacco for himself years before he even started KBF. So me being a new brand, yes, but Kelner's been around like years. I mean, he worked with his dad with Davidoff for so long, and he knew where he was going with KBF, and he's been accruing all that tobacco and the quality control, like the employment, so long that this is as good as it's going to get right now. It's at the peak. I mean, it's not coming down either, though.
So you would say go for it?
Yeah, I mean, that's Larry, the shop that I work with. We try everything. Everything. We go to those trade shows and we are smoking till we're passing out, like trying everything, seeking out what truly is a good smoke that we want to carry in that cigar shop. And there's tons of shops across the country like that they really have an awesome humidor. They find stuff that is so cool. And I've found cool smokes by being in another cigar shop and they're telling me about something and I've never seen it and brought it back home.
Yep.
What about you, Nate? Would you buy the first edition, or do you think it gets better, or what do you think?
I would say I don't tend to hunt for first releases. Like I didn't do it when I worked. Ross, I used to run an artisan hot dog cart up here in the Twin Cities, and so a lot of my business wrapped around craft beer and the opening of a lot of breweries. And so I'd have access to trying all these unique beers, but I don't think I ever once went and waited in line for a first release. I always enjoyed trying them, but it wasn't important to me to go out and source that, to stand in a line to do that. Now, that being said, if I hear a very interesting and unique story about a brand new cigar or a new restaurant or a new beverage, more than likely I'm going to try that right out of the gate, and probably, if it's a good cigar, become pretty loyal to that brand. And I'll have no trouble trying that first release. And then I think it's kind of fun to continue to smoke those cigars and see if you can tell if there's a change. Like, do you still enjoy it, or is there something that's falling off, or is it getting better? I think that's just part of a kind of a continuation of a good story. Yeah.
And also the factories I've toured and stuff, big ones that have been there a long time, they obviously have the infrastructure, but even like new ones, young factories, these are smart guys that have worked with other people. Like a lot of the younger factories have come from a factory that was pre-existing, so they're really smart guys, and they set up an infrastructure from the beginning. And they will grow in the future, but just from the first whistle, they are making good stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I got to think you're putting so much time and effort to make sure that first release is really exactly what you want, that, it begs the question that you're really going to have something special when that comes out, because that's, right. It might not be the flavor for everybody, like any cigar, but you poured your heart and soul into it. And I think Julie's comment there,
it's like a
writer's debut novel.
Right.
She says they've been saving up material for years and poured their heart and soul into it for that first release. I mean, it's generally that's going to be something special.
Yeah, I think I wrote something in the website there, including that even though I started just recently, I've been doing this. I knew where I was going with the direction since I started working at that cigar shop now, probably like 6 or 7 years ago. So
that's
it's
awesome.
Love that.
Yeah, like even though sometimes the resources aren't always there, I wasn't traveling and stuff. I was going to school, so I wasn't spending time at the factory, but I was like writing down. I have this list that is like pages long of brand names that, like, I've settled on my brand name now, but I still have a list that's like thousands of brand ideas, and some of them have a full following to like a follow-up story. It's not just a name, it's got a bunch of ideas, but and then some of them are just a name that just kind of died out. But I've been doing that kind of stuff for a long time just because I knew I was going to be building the brand, and I'd been talking with the people that I would eventually work with for so long.
Love it. We got a good question here. Where can they purchase this? Because obviously, and this leads into another question, but we'll show the website here real quick because we can't really post anything but it's just cartasdeamorcigars.com. So that's going to be the spot you go to get them. You sell direct to consumers because it's very difficult to get your brand into shops. I mean, how many stores are you even in right now?
Well, I'm glad you have these questions about direct to consumer and stuff. Because I just have direct to consumer, and that's it. I'm not in any shops, and it's hard to break into some shops, and it's easy to get into others. Because like I said earlier, there's so many shops now that seek out a good cigar, boutique, big, whatever. They just want a good cigar. So there's tons of people out there, consumers and shop owners, that want to find a good smoke. So if you have a good product, which I think I do, it's not super hard to, if you build a better mousetrap, they'll beat a path through your door to get it. So sometimes getting into a shop is not that difficult, but delivering and actually providing value to that shop, that's where I'm slowing down and taking a different approach to building the value for that shop first, before trying to just go sell something to them and
right.
and then upset some people when there's back orders, because it takes a long time to make a smoke.
Right. So this isn't even available at Smoke Ring where you used to work?
It's not.
Wow.
I would love for it to be. I would really love for it to be.
Why isn't it? Did they say no to carrying it or what?
No, they would love to sell it. Everyone there would love to buy it. But as soon as we start selling it and we sell out and we're on back order, so it's no longer a product that was a hand-created boutique product, like a sincere product that was created in this amount. Now it's just a product on the shelf that you can't get. It's just another one of these products that we see in every industry now, that everything's back ordered 8 months, 12 months, 16 months. Like, things are just getting more and more back ordered. So,
wow. So that's interesting though. I mean, like, retailers oftentimes will say, like, you know, if you're selling direct to consumers, it hurts my business. I can't, build a following. I can't get them to come into my shop and get this cigar. So I mean, that's tough. But then on your side, it's like, well, how do I get exposure? Do I only go for brick and mortars and let it slowly build? Is that a slow road to basically growth, or is that the best road to growth because you can then focus on key brick and mortars because you have a limited supply versus just anybody and everyone?
Yeah, there's two sides to it, and like the retailer side is totally justified. Like I get because I worked in retail, and you see brands that do stuff online, and you think, well, now my customers are buying this thing from this company, and they won't give it to me. So like I totally get I get what they're saying, but if, let's say, I want to provide a value to a shop just like Padron does, but Padron doesn't have back orders, so they can actually provide that value, and I can't yet. So I'm really of no value to a retailer if I upset their customers, and then their customers never want to smoke that cigar again, and then I was of no value. I was of like $10, let's say they buy a few boxes, and I was of $100 worth of value to that brand, and I'll never be able to help them out again.
But what's the switch then?
So I'm just working on growth. So I have, so that I have actually some value. So I love to think about like Shark Tank. Like when someone goes in there with a pitch, and they spend 20 minutes on a pitch with all these people that want to invest, and the sharks are so interested, they're on the edge of their seat, and then they ask, like, what's your current sales like? And if they're like, well, I'm not selling anything right now, it's just an idea, they're like, I don't want to invest in that. Like someone wants to know that your brand is actually has like longevity, sustainability, and it's not just a one and done cash grab thing. So like,
but from a retail perspective, that's all dependent upon how my customers enjoy your cigar. So for me, it's like, there's great brands that work really well, and they didn't do well at Tobacco Grove or whatever retail shop you want to name. It's just because of the customer profile.
Well, it doesn't really matter how much they enjoy it if they don't buy it. If they've got such a bad opinion about the cigar, because it's not that someone's going to get such a bad opinion about a cigar, but when I worked in the retail shop, we were always finding those, like we spent all that time going to those trade shows, and we would get something because it's an awesome smoke, and we would bring in 10 smokes in August of every year after the trade shows, 10 different lines, and like if 6 of them are on back order, the customer's never going to buy them again. It doesn't matter if they go, oh, that was a great smoke, but yeah, like I've been smoking this thing now.
Right.
So like,
I mean, you gotta have supply in order to keep them happy.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a fine line. I don't know if I were launching my own brand, what I would do. I mean, it's very difficult.
It's challenging.
I don't know.
That it is a fine line, because I totally understand everything and the retailers are like the first customer. It's the retailer's the customer too, and the person smoking the cigar has to have a good product, but I have to sell to a retailer something that's actually going to make them money. Like I don't make money unless a retailer makes money. So I can't just give them something that the client's going to go, I'm smoking, because there were so many of these brands that were an awesome smoke, and I go, hey, we got these back. And they go, oh yeah, that was good. It's been a year, and they never buy it.
Wow, yeah,
right.
That's
tough,
that's
true.
Man.
Yeah,
that's tons of those smokes that I love, and I would push people on. Not push. I would say, hey, that smoke is back. I loved it. I remember a year ago you smoking that thing, and they go, yeah, and it blows my mind that they just wouldn't pick it up.
Sure.
Well, it's that time frame, right?
They don't have animosity. They're not angry at the cigar.
It's just not front of mind. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's of no value. That makes the retailer no money.
Yep.
Right. So when this question's great from Beers Looking at You. When do you plan on bringing them to brick and mortar, and what needs to happen for you first? And it sounds like you're saying quantity. You got to have enough quantity to actually get there. You only have 150 of these, but I wouldn't assume that a smoke shop's going to go deep on a brand new brand. When I look at this,
I don't either.
I can buy, I don't know, like on the high end, probably like 20 of these 150. And that would be my risk, can I sell all 20?
Yeah.
Or can I not?
Yeah.
So
I think about it in numbers like that, but I more often think about it in a time frame. I don't want to have X number of cigars. I want to have 1.5 years of cigars for retail.
Sure. So
if I think about how long it takes to make a cigar, and then I think about giving myself this long cushion, because if I think the cigar is going to be completed and delivered in a year, 8 months from now, when everything gets delayed in shipping or whatever happens, or there was a bad growth year or something, and then now we're 2 years into waiting for this project. I think of giving that cushion. So I would love to be able to have a core line product that is consistent, that if I didn't have product for a year coming in to me, I still have that back stock to supply the retailer.
Sure.
Yeah, that takes a lot of capital.
Yeah.
A lot of cash flow.
Cash flow is king.
Yeah, man.
So that's when I'm bringing product to retailer is when I have enough product to last me a year.
Okay.
Roughly.
Great answer. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Obviously, you have other blends in the works, but this is the first with Kelner. You got other stuff that you're working on. Not only do you have the second one already rolled and ready, I would assume.
Right.
And then you're working on a third and probably much more than that. So in these first runs, is this going to come back, or is it like one and done? Like once this comes out, the 150 are sold, that's it? Or are you going to go back and make it again? Or are you doing that already?
Well, the blend is already made. I don't have to spend time creating another blend. So if El Baile has such great reception, then I have to consider whether I want to. Making more is easy, but some people might. I don't want to upset some people if they feel like they bought something because it was limited and now it's not. But also, I don't want people thinking that a core line product's different from the limited one either. Remember, we were talking about the first batch being different. Like, if I make more El Baile, it's going to be the same.
Right.
Sure.
But you're still never going to get your hands on the first 150. That's the fun part. Like, there's just that. Like, oh, I got my hands on the first 150. I don't know what it is. Yep. I don't know why that drives me. There is something fun about that. I freaking love it.
Especially when it's numbered.
Numbered, signed. I don't care. It's a gimmick, maybe, if you want to call it that, but it's also something that excites me.
Yeah.
But at some point, then I got to go, okay, I want more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want more.
I love it.
Can I get more?
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know.
This is my second 10 bundle, by the way. I've already bought one, and you graciously sent this one for the show. So there's something good about this. I think that's good enough for me. We'll start making more.
I'm wondering, because it, like you were saying, it takes so much capital to make a core line cigar that's always there. A customer loves a cigar that's always there. They love a cigar that tastes good, but they love one that they can always come to. And it's like, well, it takes so much to make that I can kind of only make one. I can only start with one cigar that is consistent like that. So do I make it El Baile, or do I, do I start now building that production with the capital for El Baile to be that way? Or do I maybe wait until the next one gets a reception? Do I see if that's the one people really want?
I don't know, Ross. You got to get the next one out, and you got to send it this way, and I'll tell you whether or not it's good or not, and which one to go with.
There you go.
That's going to be the hard part, right? You got to get them out. You got to get customers tested on them. And I think if you're going to go with the consumer route, selling direct to consumers, you got to get, like you said, close and tight. And whether that's sending them back love letters or polling them to ask them what they thought of it. I mean, I think all that is very important. The customer speaks volumes. And then you can actually go to the retailer and say, this is the data that I got on my brand. What do you think? Does that match what you think? Try them, smoke them, do whatever. But that's a long process even in and of itself. I mean, retailers don't always just open up the door to a brand new brand.
Right.
There's a lot of shelf space, but it's taken up, and it's got to pay its rent, and it's got to move, and it's got to generate buzz, basically.
And there are shops that don't tend to dabble really at all in boutique brands. Couple shops here in the Twin Cities that one kind of exclusively focuses on boutique brands and has crafted a huge following for boutique brands. He's still cautious and I think careful to get brands that his customers want to smoke. Then there are other shops that might have a niche core brand, but they tend to carry more of the mainstream cigars because they know that the boutiques are going to get lost on the shelves.
Yeah, it's kind of like shops are almost one or the other. I find some shops that have a great selection of a mainstream smoke, and then some boutiques that I like, and I'm like, wow, you've got a lot of good stuff, but I'm surprised you have this too. But it's rare to find those kinds of shops, really. You find one or the other. We were a shop that just boutique. Like, we really wanted to find we had some mainstream. It was like the other way. Like, we had some mainstreams, but man, we focus on finding every new experience for the customer.
Right. Here's a great, Gimpy91 said you should collab with a monthly cigar club. And so that's another like brand release exposure, but that's again too probably at the cost of you because they got 4 or 5 sticks in there for $40 or less a month. I mean, you're not making a ton of money on that, but you are getting the brand out there. But then, like you said, Ross, if you can't follow it up with more, it's not worth it. So there's just so many moving pieces.
It's a lot of variables. Yeah.
I think about I plan it out so much. I might get a little paralyzed sometimes just thinking about it. So
analysis paralysis. Here we go.
Yeah,
I suffer from
exactly.
the same thing.
I try to think about some risks I should take sometimes, but
I think it's good.
I would love to be part of these monthly clubs. I mean, they're really cool.
Yeah, well, it's something to think about. What avenue are you going to go to get brand exposure?
Yeah, Matt, if you want to pop up creative prop there, right above. Yeah, there we go. I'm not waiting anymore. I'm buying one now. Can't wait to smoke. So you got one more bundle out of 150 out the door.
Good choice. KBF is known as very small, very boutique, because of their position with Davidoff and their position with their own fields, I would assume. They have no one else has certain tobacco that they have, like a unique varietal. They've messed with the seeds. They've made this new varietal. Does that lend itself to a cool blending experience and process, or does it make the blending more difficult?
Great question.
It's unique. It's about finding a way to put that into your brand. So you can make a great smoke with it all day, but does it fit in line with the brand I'm trying to make? Because the brands that we know, that we're familiar with, they have their profile. You know what Padron tastes like, every Padron. Davidoff's pretty extensive, but you know what a lot of LFD tastes like. Not that these brands don't have unique lines in their portfolio, but they have like a homogenous brand.
A signature, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know though, because as I experience more of okay, there is that. There are certain cigars that I'm like, oh, that tastes like a so-and-so. And we've done that before where it's blind tasting and we go, that kind of tastes like that brand. But even still, even within LFD and even Padron, I get blown away sometimes by I didn't expect that,
Yeah, totally. There's some unique lines, but they're outliers. They didn't start that. They didn't start having LFD. Didn't start with the Suave. They started with creating the LFD flavor.
Sure. So that's what you're trying to do then, is create some sort of I guess I'm looking at this from a blender's perspective. Like, you want to create something that kind of all comes together and you can sense that this is all coming from Cartas De Amor. Or, in my opinion, I would just want to create like a really good blend, whether it went with the other cigars in my lineup or not. I just want to create something really cool and good tasting. Not really care if it doesn't taste like anything else, because I want unique flavor profiles to try to hit as many people as possible.
Yeah, I did. So the blend, I'm working on a blend now with Kelner, and I smoked some of the samples, and it has that his tobacco from his sister. His sister's growing, and it's a great smoke, of course. So like, I think we might archive that, or however we want to hold on to that blend. I asked him to just like, please, for the love of God, don't erase that. But I don't know if this is what I want to do right now.
Interesting.
So like any good blend, like I was saying earlier with the writing the brand names, it's all still there. None of that goes away. And I'm on the same page with you, obviously, as making a good smoke. Like, everything about the blends I'm making are about the smoke. It's not about what it is or where it's from. So it's all about making a good smoke. But at the end of the day, also, like, try how do I put this out? Is this what Cartas De Amor is about right this second? Do I make this like one of the Cigar of the Month Club exclusives later?
Sure. Well, that's a challenge for any new brand. Is what does your brand want to be about? Like, what direction do I want to go? And I will say personally, I'm really drawn to brands that, whether I like the direction they went or not, I like when they take a risk and go, this is where we're going. We're gonna do very unique, distinct blends. I'm cool with that. Or we're gonna have a signature flavor that we find in all of our cigars. I'm cool with that. And kind of it's up to the creator.
As long as you're committed to it, you can have a great brand that does the exact, like, I'm going to keep going back to Padron because they make like the same smoke all the time with all their 64 and 26s, like a whole bunch of the same smoke. Of course, they have Damaso and stuff, but like, everyone knows what Padron is like. But there's also plenty of great brands like Crux that's just everything, and they're all good. They're committed to all those blends, and so they're all good as long as you just commit to it.
Yep.
This is interesting. Creative Prop said, I like small batch, limited, rare, new brands, and first runs. They don't even need to be the best cigar I have ever smoked. I just like the story they tell. It being good will just be a bonus for me. See, I'm on the opposite end. I try not to get sucked into the marketing side of it, even though I love marketing.
Right.
It's part of the story. It's part of the reason why I might pick up a brand. But man, if that cigar isn't good, I'm out. Like, I'm not coveting that brand or that cigar after that. It's like, it's got to be good. Because think about it. We all have hundreds of options in a humidor or online to smoke. I'm not going to waste my next 2 hours smoking something that's not that great just to say it's new.
Sure.
Or boutique or small or rare.
There's some collectors like that. I'm a bit of a collector. I love a cool band. Don't get me wrong. I'll buy a cool band all day. I'll buy a limited smoke.
Yeah, but then after that, it's like, it's got to perform for me.
Of course, absolutely.
That's key. So I don't know.
So Rob, we had a question a little bit earlier regarding tasting notes. Should we tell people what we think of what we're tasting in this cigar?
Yeah, you go ahead, buddy, because I don't know.
Y'all tell them what you think. I'm going to go grab my laptop charger.
You got it. I would say at least I'm getting loads and loads of cedar.
Really?
And then on the retrohale, which is really creamy, like very soft. It doesn't seem very peppery. Doesn't have that characteristic tingle, like really soft. I get like a creamy, like almond nuttiness.
I have no idea what I'm getting, but it's good. And it's complex, but well balanced. There's nothing one particular thing that I'm like, ooh,
a little sweetness on the end.
But I like it.
I like it very much. Yeah.
I think I don't know.
This is one of the better retrohales I've had on a cigar in the last month or so.
It's one. I haven't been able to retrohale in a while because I've been so plugged up. So
you and me both,
nice.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the beauty of Minnesota in the winter, right?
Yeah. No, this is good. Love it. We do have a reoccurring segment, Ross, where we call this Ask Boveda.
Yeah.
We got some questions, obviously, that have come in. We're going to get to those. We appreciate those that have gone ahead and asked them. So we'll hit it here right now. All right. Boy, that is tiny. Let's see if I can read this. I live in a really high RH environment. My packs are still soft after 18 to 24 months. Should I replace them? Yes.
Yes.
Boveda is not made to be something that lasts indefinitely. There's a couple of things that happen during that time period, but I always replace mine typically within a year to that 18-month range.
I'm about the same.
So, great question.
Yeah, that was a good question I had too, because I have a really humid area.
Do you have a hygrometer recommendation, Nate? I'll let you take this one. Do you use a hygrometer?
I don't anymore, actually.
Neither do I.
I'll be frank, and I got this advice long before I ever came to work for Boveda. Jeff Hogan, our good friend, owner of Crux Cigars and one of our favorite local shops here. He said, if you're throwing Boveda in your humidor, trust the Boveda. You don't need a hygrometer. It just works.
I get it if you're trying to dial in a humidor, great, but they're all cheap. So the best thing you can do with a hygrometer is just buy a cheap $20 one, digital, analog, whatever you want. But buy a $6 Boveda calibration kit, because that's the truth in whether or not that little tiny device is telling you the accurate RH.
Correct.
So all hygrometers to me are garbage until they get tested with a Boveda calibration kit. So that's my advice. Pick up any one that you like, cheap, inexpensive, whatever, and test it with a calibration kit. That's the best thing you can do.
Well,
and test it every 3 to 6 months at a minimum. And to truly get precise readings on a hygrometer, the amount of money you have to spend is comically expensive. It's not fun.
No.
So that's my recommendation. Why does a large humidor bag come with a size 40 instead of 3 size 60?
Or 1 size 60, or a size, does it say 3 size 60?
3. That's a great question, right? Because we say 1 per 25, and that bag can actually hold 80 sticks.
Sure.
If you took them out of the box.
Sure.
The reason is because it's an airtight environment. So wood breathes moisture. It's really good for aging cigars. I love the smell of my cedar humidors. And so that's the difference. It's the performance of Boveda inside the container. And we know, and we've tested, that 40 gram is enough to keep that humidified for up to a year. Now, obviously, if you load it up with a bunch of sticks, you might need to add more 69% size 60 into that. But for us, it's a way to keep the cost down to you. And also, it's enough. Boveda never does anything just barely. We always exceed our expectations.
Yep.
So we've dialed that in to be able to exceed expectations and still keep it relatively cost effective.
Sure.
Great question.
Yeah, good question.
There's somebody out there that knows Boveda, right? I love that. Any other questions that we got? That was great. Thank you guys so much for submitting your questions. As always, use the hashtag AskBoveda if you have any questions, or drop them in the comments below and we will get to them, and you might be featured on the next Unboxed Live. We appreciate that every other week.
It's a lot of fun because it helps us revisit our own technology and product.
And even myself, I remember being back, starting out in cigars, man, what do I do? How do I do this? Blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And it was that's been so long ago that I don't remember.
Yeah.
There's still new customers out there struggling. So we're here to help.
Always learning.
Yes, absolutely. Ross, I couldn't thank you more for jumping on, sending these great cigars, allowing us to try these. any parting words that you want to give the people?
No, I'm glad everyone watches this and they watch what Boveda is doing to find cool new smokes out there, because you and me are the same. We're always trying to find the new ones and see who's pushing the limits and making good new blends. We just want to keep finding more of what's good out there.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I can't say that I don't know if there's been a single cigar from KBF that I haven't liked. So you picked the factory that I absolutely love, and I will continue smoking them. Even if I get a bad one, I'll be like, well, that one's just not for me, and I'll move on.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, KBF is Kelner Boutique Factory.
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
Yep.
Right.
That's who's making this cigar. Make quite a few other cigars that you've probably had or may not have had, but definitely a factory to keep on your radar.
Absolutely.
Ross, thank you for joining us.
I'm glad you guys like it. I'll keep working hard to make something sincere that you guys like.
Really enjoy it.
Keep pushing those boundaries. I love it, man. Keep it up. We appreciate it. Thank you all for joining us. That's another episode of Unboxed Live. And if you like this, you like the channel, please subscribe so we know you're out there, and you'll get the notifications. We do this every other Friday. Have a great weekend.
Great to see you, everybody.
Take care.